Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special live class series on mastering your money. And what a series it has been so far. I'm so happy to have you on here tonight. Can you go ahead right now and start to invite other persons to jump on board and to join us? You can harvest the YouTube link and share it with others and let them come in. Share it on WhatsApp, text messages, whatever platform where you have access to, and invite people to come in, because we are in for another exhilarating time. Tonight is going to be a great blessing. You don't want to miss it. You don't even want your worst enemy to miss it. Let alone your family and your friends. All right. So let's get to inviting others to jump on board, to join us right now. And as usual, we want to make it as interactive as possible. So please use the chat column as we go on in the course of tonight. Use the chat column use it copiously. Interact there, react there. At the right junction, you'll be able to post questions there also. And let's make this a live and direct evening. All right. I see a few people already in the chat. Keisha, I see you. That one dancer, I see you. Welcome. Let's make sure we use the chat column. Let's make sure we make this as interactive and alive as possible. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a good one. Can I get any feedback from anybody that's been with us this last 2 Wednesdays? The first Wednesday we had Ronkel Dewumi. Last week Wednesday we had Emanuela Suko. And tonight we have a special couple with us. But any quick feedback? How have you found the last two Wednesdays? How has it been for you? Have you gotten any serious take homes? Quickly use the chat column and let me hear from anybody that's there. Yeah, somebody says phenomenal indeed. That's TS Glam. Thank you. Good to get that feedback. Any other person want to quickly comment? How has it been these last 2 Wednesdays? How have you enjoyed the information? Somebody said it's been provocative. Yeah. We expect that. Talking about money, it always touches on key areas. Okay, somebody said very practical, addressing real life pitfalls around money. Okay, somebody said that. Somebody said last week's class was very informative. Hallelujah. Ola Philip says, thanks for organizing. Thank you for thanking me. It's an honor. I'm also a student here and learning a lot. Okay, Keisha said it's been an eye-opener. Well, I'm happy that it's been resonating with so many of you. I'm confident that it will. I'm so confident that it will. So stay tuned. Well, tonight is another night, and it's a very special night because I don't just have one guest. I have 2 guests, the 2 that are one. Because they are husband and they are wife. And they're doing a great job in this arena, and they just released their book. It is Financial Joy. This book right here. I want to immediately encourage everyone here, and I'm probably still going to say this again before tonight is done, to get your copy of Financial Joy. This is not just a rushed up harried book that has little value. This book is of great value. A lot of work went into putting it together. And let's look at the subtitle: Banish Debt, Grow Your Money, and Unlock Financial Freedom in 10 Weeks. Who doesn't want to do that? So you've got to get this book. It's available on Amazon and a number of other platforms. Make sure you get yourself a copy. I got myself 2 copies, one for myself, another one to be gifted, or maybe it's for my children. Hallelujah. So nobody should come and ask me about the second one I got. Okay? Get your own. But it's a great book. And this book is birthed out of years of work in this arena, in this sector. They are the founders of the Humble Penny and the Financial Joy Academy. And they are committed to helping millions of people design a life of financial joy to achieve a balance of wealth and well-being. Some people think you can't have wealth and well-being, that it's either or the other, but they debunk that myth. You can have joy and you can have finances at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. They're also not tutors that just tell you what they have not done. They tell us stuff that they have lived out themselves. They were able to clear their mortgage in a record 7 years, become financially independent in ridiculous time, and they're doing an absolute great job. So we're super excited to have with us tonight the one, Ken and Mary Okoroafor. I'm bringing them up stage now. Let's give them a nice warm welcome.
Yay, Pastor Timmy.
Oh, thank you so much, Pastor Timmy.
You are welcome. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you for being on here with us today.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It'd be good to know where everyone's joining from. They should post in the chat. What city? What part of the country?
What part of London?
Where are you guys? What part of London? Like, where are you joining? Come on, hit us up in the chat.
All right. Yeah, they're starting to respond.
Yes.
Applause is already rolling. Yeah.
Bernadette, thank you. What fun. Right. We'll see them come through.
Yeah. Thank you once again for being here. I've started reading your book. I got it on Audible also.
Nice.
And just listening to it, and your story, each of your individual stories and how that came together is phenomenal. But can you tell us a little bit about Humble Penny? What's Humble Penny about?
So the Humble Penny is a personal finance brand that Mary and I started. It began life as a passion project. Whilst we had our full-time jobs, we felt led to almost a calling to actually begin sharing our own story, our own journey as a young Black couple living in London, trying to find our way. So the Humble Penny is a way of helping people to demystify money, because money can be, complex. People feel like it's only for wealthy people to understand money. So the Humble Penny essentially saying you can begin with small beginnings, but you can go to, you can ultimately work towards achieving your goals. So it's about starting small, but ultimately working to a desired destination in the future.
Which is what you did. You started small and you are well on your way to your desired destination.
Yes.
Yeah. Super happy about that. And then sometime after Humble Penny, you now also birthed the Financial Joy Academy. What's that about?
So we that launched in March 2020. So literally, it was 2 weeks before the whole global pandemic. It was crazy, but that's essentially, so 90% of what we deliver via our platform, the Humble Penny, our YouTube blog, is free. Financial Joy Academy is a membership where people want to take the next step in terms of committing towards their goals. So it's a membership that people join, and inside of it, there are other, what we call our dream makers, people who are serious about, going on that journey towards financial independence, or whatever that means for them. And so inside of the Academy, we have courses, masterclasses, fortnightly coaching calls where they can speak to us on Zoom. They submit questions and then we really tackle them in depth. We also pair them up with accountability partners, because we've seen a lot of progress when people come together and they have an accountability partner. We have masterminds as well, depending on what strategy they want to work on, be it online business, property, YouTube, blogging, or career maximization. We have masterminds that we run monthly for those. So it's quite a few things within the Academy, and it's been
incredible, including in-person meetups. We meet 3 times a year. We come, we eat pepper soup, we go to all the nice restaurants.
Yes, we have to. We take them to Nigerian restaurants.
Yeah, we take them to different kind of restaurants, but like, amazing things happen in person. You know. So, and we've noticed a lot of our people are people of faith. You know, so they're not only people who are people of faith, but they're people who want to create an intentional, purpose-led life. You know, they want to just get away from strife, get away from struggle, but they want to do it with people who have similar values, who have a similar mindset, you know, and who are not like about just competing with each other, but are about building together. Yeah. So we're trying to nurture and build a very intentional and supportive community. Honestly, the community is insane. You got people who are from different backgrounds doing incredible things, like authors, accountants, lawyers, bankers, you know, teachers, everyday people, but they all have this unified desire to want to improve their lives, to create generational wealth, to become impactful and serve their communities, to give back in so many ways. When you have a melting pot of people like that, amazing things happen. God's really doing incredible things through these various platforms.
Whoa. Excited to hear this. So guys, everybody in the audience, if you are not already on Humble Penny, then you are at the Financial Joy Academy. These are things you must seriously consider jumping on board. I'm in a rush to set you loose to share whatever you're going to share with us tonight. Now, I need to quickly throw out a disclaimer to the people listening. This is such limited time. So there is no way that Ken and Mary are going to be able to deal with every nuance of mortgage success or financial joy. More reason why you have to get the book. Yeah, you gotta get the book because you gotta get the book because there's so much information here that they won't be able to share tonight. But they're going to share a lot tonight, and then we'll have a brief time of question and answer. So I'm going to give the stage to them roundabout now and let them take the lead. Okay. When you're ready for the slides, I'll bring that up stage also. You just let me know.
Sure. All right, so let's bring up the slides. Let's begin with the slides as a way to, and then we'll introduce ourselves and our journey. Okay, so if we get that to be full screen, that will be, perfect. Thank you. So welcome everybody to our Mortgage Freedom Masterclass as part of this journey of mastering your money, okay?
So for today's agenda, we're going to, like Pastor Tommy said, put a lot in a short space of time, but it's broken down into 3 parts. So part 1 is all about our journey, so you can get to know us a bit better. Part 2 is about how to become mortgage free, if that's your goal. And part 3, hopefully, we'll be able to answer some questions in a Q&A session.
Okay, so we like to begin with some stats, okay? Just so we can set the scene, so we can understand why this is so important. The average, according to research, the average outstanding mortgage debt per household in the UK, this is average, remember guys, is £127,140, which means that there are lots of people with bigger balances than that, and there are also people with smaller balances.
32% of mortgage holders do not think that they will pay off their home loan by the age of 65, and that's according to Guardian.
That means 1 in every 3 people that you come across. 1 in 10 people still had mortgage debt at the point that they stopped working. This is according to LV. And nobody wants to be in this position. My parents were in this position, so this really resonates deeply.
Yeah, and this one is tough. 63% of those who retired with an outstanding mortgage debt had to pay the mortgage debt off with their pension.
Wow, that's a painful one.
Yeah.
And then this last one is a shocking new trend. 1 in 4, that's 25% of under 30s, your Gen Zs and the people who are coming into the world, into the workforce and beginning their careers. 1 in 4 are now taking mortgages of 35 years and beyond. 1 in every 4 people, according to Experian.
To make their payments more affordable.
This is a shocking stat, right? Okay.
So how have we gotten here? High inflation, longer mortgage terms, as we said, and higher interest rates. And this essentially means that more people are paying mortgages during retirement.
Yeah, which is a crazy outcome, and we don't ever really want to end up there, ideally, right? So how do we begin to change these stats and rewrite our stories financially and generationally for our families? Mary and I believe very strongly that we've got to begin with what we can control, okay? Rather than say we can't do anything, what can we actually control and start with today? Now, there are 3 core areas, almost zooming out, that we need to begin to focus on before we even get into the mechanics of mortgages. First is our mindset. How do we see things? The fact that you are on this call speaks very positively to your mindset as a starting point. Yeah. The second is our skill set. You find that if you go on this journey of trying to pay off your mortgage, a big part of that journey means you need to be earning an income. You need to be, trying to earn more over time. And without the right skill sets, it will be very difficult to actually earn the right income and maintain that income to be able to pay off a mortgage over time. And then the third is a tool set. What do we mean by that? You need a game plan. For example, tool sets could be that you are on a program like this that Pastor Temi's put together. This is a tool set. You've been exposed to different speakers and that sort of thing. As a tool set could be that you follow a 10-week plan by Ken and Mary, who've actually been on this journey. That way you're not guessing, you're following a step-by-step plan. A tool set could be that you're following, you're using an overpayment calculator to assess the degree to which making small overpayments will have an impact on your mortgage. Effectively, what we're saying before we've even started is to say that you've got to think in these 3 dimensions: your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set from a holistic perspective.
Which is amazing, but trying to build wealth for the future only isn't enough. We also want to have that balance, which we talk about in this book, the balance of wealth and well-being. So we want to have fun now, but also enjoy ourselves today whilst also preparing for our future.
That's absolutely important. So a bit about our journey. This is part 1. We believe it's very important to kind of understand where we've come from. You might know a bit about us already, but we don't want to assume. We want to actually share with you guys what's led us to get to where we are today. Okay, so this is a picture of me when I was at the age of 16. So what you might not know from this picture is that at the age of 16, I'd only been living in the UK for about 2 years. First generation immigrant, moved here when I was 14 years old. And for me, back then, my relationship with money was all about fitting in. Yeah, I had a cleaning job. Those pair of trainers I'm wearing there cost me £40. My first ever paycheck, cleaning in Walthamstow in East London. I earned £80 in an envelope, because back then, we had these residency challenges. So doing this cleaning work was the way that I found a way to try to earn some money on the side. So for me, my relationship with money was all about fitting in. But over time, that relationship with money would change as time passed. This is a bit about my background, my non-professional background. The bit on the right is what you see on LinkedIn, right? It's the shiny stuff. It's all the things that people want to show people about themselves. But for me, I was born in Nigeria, born and bred, and I grew up over there, began life in the UK with nothing, absolute zero with my family. We all began life in 1 bedroom, not a 1-bedroom flat, literally 1 bedroom. 6 people in 1 bedroom was the start of how we began life. I saw education as my way out in this country, at least as my way to begin. And part of that education wasn't just learning from school and from uni and what have you. It was also taking risks to try things, taking faith walks, as we'd call them, trusting God on the journey. And literally, it's also being practical to try things out, to try to get somewhere in my life one day. And I had this strong desire to become financially independent for the future.
Oh gosh, so this is me. I was also similar age, 16 or 17. I was at college here, And again, I'm wearing here a very expensive jeans jacket. I don't know who I was trying to impress back then. But you can skip to the next slide. For me, my parents migrated over to the UK in the late 70s, and I grew up in Hackney, East London, in a council estate for 27 years. And growing up, my parents were super frugal. So we, didn't do any family holidays, and we didn't eat out at restaurants. It was always, there was rice at home, and I was okay with that. That was my reality. But I learned from my brothers about the power of, entrepreneurship. And I dabbled in that, like in secondary school, selling CDs in the playground. But growing up, for me, I didn't really see the 9-to-5 type of career as my future for building wealth. I wanted to do something different with my money, as opposed to just seeing my money in a savings account or what do they call it? The ISAs back then. A cash ISA. I wanted to do more with my money. And so that's how I started my development into reading about, personal finances. I guess I came across the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which kind of helped with that trajectory of wanting to pursue business and property as a way towards financial independence. So yeah, my professional life, I worked in corporate for about 7 years, but then when I was pregnant, 3 months pregnant with our firstborn child, I took the leap of running a nursery. So it was a family nursery business, which Ken's mum started, and there was an opportunity to open up a branch. So yeah, I took the leap of faith, and I did that, where my children came with me to work for the next 7 years. And whilst we were doing that, the Humble Penny, as you mentioned, started as a passion project in 2017, but juggling the nursery business, children, marriage, life became a bit too much. And in 2019, I left the nursery and started on the Humble Penny full time.
Yeah, and I did mine in 2020 during the pandemic. So where are we today? Because this is very important. Today, Mary and I, thanks, to, thinking very carefully about finances, stewarding our resources, where we achieved financial independence at the age of 34, including mortgage-free in 7 years, which is why we can speak to you a lot about mortgages today and how you too can work towards mortgage freedom. Run the Humble Penny. Our work has so far helped more than 5 million people to improve their relationship with money and growing. As Pastor Temi mentioned earlier, we run also Financial Joy Academy, but we also get involved in other things, investments in other areas, other types of businesses and other asset classes, and so on.
So thank you, Pastor Temi. You have spoken about our book in great detail. But yes, this is our book, Financial Joy, and we absolutely are not being biased here. It's the best book that we've ever done. It's the best work we've ever produced. And yeah, you guys will be absolutely blessed. So here is the link, the QR code for you to jump on and order one. You can get it from Amazon or major retailers.
And I should say it's a Sunday Times bestseller. She's just being really modest, but it's worth mentioning that.
Yeah.
It's a life-changing book. But I wanted to just share, why is this book different? And then we get into our thing. You know how there are lots of books out there, and you might be thinking, well, yeah, this is just any other money book, but it's actually not. There are many reasons why this book is very different. Firstly, it's a 10-week plan. Most books are just in chapters. This book has been designed to help you walk through different elements step by step. Everything from developing a healthy relationship with money, dealing with various biases, managing debt, beginning that journey of investing, managing day-to-day finances, planning for retirement, legacy planning. All has been structured over 10 weeks. The book's also written from our perspective. There aren't many books written by couples, first of all, that also speak to single people. So this book is written by a couple who've actually achieved what they're sharing, but it also helps single people and couples together. Again, like Mary mentioned, it's aimed at helping you achieve this balance of wealth and well-being. Interestingly, the book includes 12 case studies or interviews of how should I put it, lived experiences of people who are at different stages of the money journey and from different ethnic backgrounds as well. So Africans, Caribbeans, white, Asian, people at different ages, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60 at one of our interviews. So it really covers everything to make sure that, in a non-judgmental way and a really empowering and empathetic way, the book is guiding you, like almost like having two really good friends helping you on your money journey personally. So what was the turning point on our personal journey so far? Now, it's worth mentioning that we began, as we mentioned, painted that picture for you from the very beginning, but there's certain things that really stood out for us that were key turning points. The first is that we actually hated not having money and watching our parents struggle. I remember very clearly the day my dad retired. In the same week, I went out for a drink with my dad, and he was telling me how he still felt very frustrated because one of the biggest things he didn't get to achieve was that they still had their mortgage with a balance on it, even though he had retired. So imagine not getting your regular salary anymore, but at the same time, you still got this mortgage hanging over you. So for me, Mary and I didn't really want to get to the age of 65 and still feel like, do you know what? We are repeating the same patterns as our parents, wanting to level up and take things to a different level. We met in 2009, and the key word there is that we dreamt together. And this is speaking directly to couples. A lot of couples don't dream together. A lot of couples, in fact, don't even know what each other are earning or spending. In fact, a lot of couples are operating like two individuals in a partnership rather than one unit in a household with a family vision. So this whole idea of dreaming together is really, really powerful. And if you're not doing it yet, it's not a problem. The key thing is to begin that journey as part of this, as you're learning on this presentation. So for Mary and I, had we not dreamt together and set a vision for our lives, I know for sure that we would not be where we are today. And part of that dreaming was we created a 10-year plan. Do you want to speak to that 10-year plan briefly?
Yes, so we recently got engaged and we were chilling on a beach. It was a different environment, so we weren't worrying about, the cares of the world, bills to pay, food to cook.
Social
media, exactly. There was no distractions there on the beach because there weren't even any reception where we were. But on the beach, we were planning our wedding, but we also created a 10-year plan, which was powerful for us because on that 10-year plan, I don't remember everything exactly, but one of it was that we wanted to pay off our mortgage in 10 years, actually. And then another thing was that we wanted a house with our own drive. That's what you wanted. I wanted like a nice big kitchen with an island. I can't remember everything on that plan, but paying off the mortgage in 10 years was there. And because we made it a goal, right, it really shaped, I guess, the trajectory going forward. And it was easier for us to, I guess, be on the same page because we dreamed together and then we worked backwards as opposed to being on like different pages. It just helped us come. Doesn't mean that everything, like we agreed with everything, we didn't. But because we had the same goal we were working towards, it was easy to kind of come to agreement with things that maybe we may have differed with. For example, Ken had the idea of sticking to a £50 weekly food budget, which I thought was ridiculous. But then I decided actually to take on that challenge. Whatever helps us move closer towards our goal quicker, I was up for it. So yeah, it took me a while to get there, but I eventually accepted that challenge and it became us gamifying a lot of things. It just made it fun. Yeah.
And we held each other accountable. That's actually very important. When you're trying to achieve a goal, like becoming mortgage free, such a big goal that if you're someone who's in a relationship and you're not on the same page with your partner, it will be like a house divided if you're not on the same page, because one person's going to say, oh, I want us to become mortgage free. The other person is like, oh, I want to spend all our money, maybe doing a renovation or maybe just traveling only or just spending however we want. So you really both need to be on the same page and have certain rules. And we're going to talk to you about what those are in a minute, but we're just sharing these foundational bits just so you can kind of understand like the motivations and the ingredients that are necessary for us to get to where we got to on our journey. Another bit was mindset as well. This is very important, shifting from scarcity to abundance. And I wanted to speak about point 5. It says here, we focus on truly understanding who we are and what we cared about. This is important because I give some really practical examples. Just because your sibling, your brother or your sister has their kids in private school doesn't mean that you have to have your kids in private school. I'm just putting this out there. Nothing, I'm not bashing everybody who sends their kids to private schools. It's not really that. I'm just using it as an example. I want you to just understand that it's very important for you to know what you want. And it doesn't have to be what other people want. You see what I'm saying? Because if you know what you want, you can say no to what you don't want. Yeah. And that will come up a lot on this journey towards trying to become mortgage free or towards trying to achieve your financial goals. Yeah. And then I said, number 6, we kept learning and making bolder moves that differed to our friends. Yeah. And this is important. Without the learning, without you pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, you would just stay in the same bubble. You would be around the same friendships. Not very much would change in your life until you expand your imagination. This is where books and other resources come into the picture. It's about imagination, and it's about shifting that mindset from just thinking very small and thinking how everybody else thinks to actually making much bolder moves. And then point 7 is that we took faith walks. What do we mean by that? We mean here that we trusted God to set the course for our lives ahead. Yes, we had plans. Yes, we had goals. Yes, we had ambitions. But ultimately, we put God first in our plans. And if it was God's will that, things would go the way that God wants it to go in our lives, then that's how it went ultimately. But we didn't just pray for stuff and left things in prayer. Yeah. We prayed and we took practical steps. We read books. We deferred gratification. We saved and invested. We did the things that were necessary for our finances to begin to shift. Yeah. Okay.
So we want to do a little exercise with you guys. I appreciate we've been doing a lot of talking. And I want to pose a question to you, which is, what does financial joy look like for you? But before you think of that, or you can actually think of it, I just want to read a page from our book. And here's the definition of financial joy, right? This is our definition. So, feel free to close your eyes as I'm reading, okay? Wherever you are, just close your eyes. So
yes, I'll do the same.
Okay. Imagine a life where your financial situation no longer causes stress, anxiety, or sleepless nights. A life where money becomes a tool for empowerment, enabling you to pursue your dreams, support your loved ones, and make a positive impact in the world. This is the essence of financial joy. In other words, financial joy is a mindset and model that anyone who earns or spends money can use to ultimately design a balanced life of wealth and well-being. It's not just about accumulating wealth or achieving financial independence. It's about finding harmony in your relationship with money, aligning your financial goals with your values, and experiencing a deep sense of contentment and peace regarding your finances. Financial joy is about transcending the traditional notions of success and redefining what wealth truly means to you. It's about cultivating a mindset that allows you to navigate the ever-changing financial landscape with confidence and resilience. We choose financial joy. We choose joy because it is a deep and lasting sense of inner contentment and delight. It is a profound emotion that arises from within and is independent of external factors. Joy can be present even during challenging times, such as recessions or during the cost of living. Okay, so you can open your eyes.
Yeah, when the cost of living rises.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to just put that out there. I mean, if you had to put it in the chat, and I'm loving the comments section, by the way. Keep the comments coming. What would you say a life of financial joy looks like for you? Just pop it in the chat. If you had to put it into your own words, what does it mean for you, financial joy? Pop it in the chat. Let's see. How would you what would that look like for you personally? So Bernadette says, financial joy means my money's working rather than I'm working for money.
Love
that.
Oh, thank you.
See, you should do more reading.
Do you know what? I actually, for the longest time, I hated hearing my voice back. I refused to rewatch our YouTube videos. So thank you. That's a lovely compliment. Keisha said, for me, financial joy means freedom.
I love that in capitals. Anybody else?
Thank you for sharing, Keisha.
What does it mean for you personally? Personally.
It's such an individual thing, isn't it?
So whilst those are being posted,
yeah,
let's share what it means for us.
Okay. So we've got some examples here, but for us, it's essentially time freedom with family. Somebody mentioned freedom. The opportunity to travel 2 to 5 times a year. So we've loved traveling since we've met, and we want to be able to continue to do that, God willing. Mortgage freedom and being financially independent. Never stressing about paying a bill.
Amen to that.
Bills are constant, right? Every month there's bills to go out, and we don't want to ever stress about that. And then owning assets, having multiple streams of income. And finally, but most importantly, we want to be able to give generously without worrying. Yeah,
I love that. So Janet says, being able to do what you want to do, and what you need to do. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Flexibility.
IJ says, having enough money to become time rich. Brilliant, right? So those are all coming, IJ says being able to easily pay a bill without blinking when challenges arise. Yeah. Those are all brilliant. And I love how you guys are making this personal to yourselves, right? So we've now covered those almost the mindset elements of the journey. Let's now go into some strategy, right? So let's talk about becoming mortgage free. How do you actually go about doing it? So strategy number 1 is make it a goal first. Did you know that 95% of people in the world, 95% of people never become financially independent because it was never a goal in the first place? So for you to become mortgage free, it must first become a goal. For example, what's your current mortgage balance? What do you even know what a balance is? And by when do you want to become mortgage free? Is it 20 years, 25 years, 15 years, 12 years? What is it for you? And better than that, why does this goal matter for you? Is it a vehicle for your financial freedom? Will it create generational wealth? Why do you want mortgage freedom? These questions, we don't just want to reflect on them. We want to write your answers down. Feel free to take a screenshot or whatever for you to reflect on it. Like, in fact, what am I talking about? It's all in here in the book. Yeah, literally in week 6 of the book, all these questions are there. Yeah. Now, part of this making it a goal first is make sure you have an emergency fund first and give priority to paying off expensive debts first. So your credit cards, because they have a much higher APR and stuff like that on it. So that's strategy 1.
Okay, so strategy 2, is to choose where you live carefully. This is so important because where you choose essentially dictates how much you borrow and ultimately when you'll achieve mortgage freedom. All our family live in London, but we made the hard decision to move out of London, but it meant that we were able to get the size of the house that we wanted, the garden, the kitchen with the island, but without paying London house prices. And it's just a drive away to get to our family. It's not that long at all.
Absolutely important. In fact, I almost feel like dwelling on this point, because this is again where comparison comes into picture. People go and buy houses driven by other people's almost subconscious influences. You end up buying a house in a particular location, borrowing astronomical sums of money. You think it's like monopoly money until you get your first mortgage letter telling you that you're going to have to pay X amount per month and over X amount of years. Comparison is such a thing that derails a lot of people on the journey towards actually creating a life of financial joy. So this point is almost so important. And I know if you've already moved home, obviously might not be speaking to you deliberately, but I'm actually saying it for the people who are maybe not yet on the property ladder or who may be considering moving. Where you choose to move to matters because it dictates how much money you borrow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about one of the most game-changing things, which is the power of overpayment, which is strategy 3. Now we're going to use a simple case study to keep life very simple. Imagine you had 250K as a mortgage with an average 5% interest rate, average, over 25 years. Overpaying is one of the biggest strategies that helped us become mortgage free a lot sooner. And here are some case studies, right? Examples and scenarios. £100 per month overpaid would save you, in this scenario, £26,000 in interest, and it will wipe 3 years off the mortgage. So you'd go from 25 years to 22 years to pay off your mortgage. If you overpaid by £500 a month, it will wipe a whopping £83,000 in interest over the term of your mortgage. And get this, you will suddenly go from paying off that mortgage in 25 years to 15 years. Pause and just reflect on that. Just imagine 10 years, just like someone just put a line through 10 years, just put a line through it in one day. In one day, right? Now, and I know this is a large amount of money, but it's possible. We know it because we did it. If you overpay by £1,000 a month, and we'll talk about where that could come from later, £1,000 a month wipes an astronomical, almost unbelievable, £112,000 off your mortgage, and almost erases and gives you back 14 years of your life back without a mortgage. I want you to just pause. In fact, I want you guys to react in the comments. How would it feel getting back 14 years of your life without a mortgage? I want to see one word in the comment. What's the one word that would explain how that would be, how that would feel for you? Keisha says, wow, how would that feel getting 14 years of your life back without a mortgage? Now you might think that's just theory. It's not, because we're living that life right now. Because we've had to go through this journey to be able to see that this is actually real. It's possible. Okay. Someone says mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. And it is mind-blowing. Because if you think about it, it's actually, this can become the difference between pursuing one career and pursuing another career potentially. The difference between having to get a job, just even though you're miserable in your job, and doing something that makes your heart sing, something that you actually enjoy. Yeah. This is the reason why a lot of people remain in jobs that are frustrating to them, and they can never take risks because they are always wanting to keep paying the mortgage. It's a big deal, guys, what we're sharing right now. I'm seeing holiday money. I'm seeing wow. I'm seeing wonderful. I'm seeing indescribable, mind-blowing. This, I want you to remember those words, because if you start to apply what we're saying today, it will matter for the future. Now, let's be practical. There's a thing called the early repayment charge. Every year, people who have mortgages get given typically 10% allocation to overpay. Now, you might think, oh, 10%, Ken and Mary, is so small. No, it's not. 10% is a lot. If you've got 250K mortgage, 10% is £25,000 of net income to be overpaid. That's a lot of money. That's more than £2,000 a month. Yeah. So that 10% matters. It's a lot. However, if you want to overpay more than 10%, you can approach a mortgage broker because they have access to products that you might not see at typical high street banks. And those products allow you to overpay however much you want. And Mary and I did the same on our journey.
Absolutely. And strategy 4 is to live on one income. So this is what we both did, actually. Yeah, we adjusted our lifestyle to mainly live on one income and use the other to invest in stocks and overpay on our mortgage. So yeah, that meant we just needed to be super disciplined. We still had fun. Like people, when we first started the Humble Penny, we didn't really talk much about our fun. So people thought, about you guys, you guys are miserable. But
oh, no.
we're not. We have a budget for fun, and it goes up as our debts go down. But yeah, so we still had fun, and we just found more creative ways to be able to do that and plan our holidays ahead of time, like a year in advance. So yeah, your lifestyle really is everything. And dictates whether are. You have to work until your retirement and then get a job after your retirement to fund that your lifestyle, essentially.
So I've seen a comment that says in there, we're struggling on 2 incomes. And I get it, because things are challenging. However, it presents an interesting dilemma, which is, what else could we begin to do? What changes do we need to make in our lives? Yeah. What are your biggest areas of cost? Those areas need to be challenged. They need to be thought about slightly differently, slightly creatively. I mean, Mary and I could have lived in London. I'm just using that as an example. We could have gone on, like, I wanted to live in like Westcombe Park, Blackheath, you know, like all these nice areas. People are like, yeah. But that would have meant borrowing mortgages, 480K, 500K mortgage or more, right? But we had to make a hard decision, which is, look, not being funny, you have a choice, which is either borrow more and work another 20 years or 10 years, or follow this other pathway and maybe seek out another path, another possibility for yourself. But I know it's hard, so I'm not even belittling that. It's very difficult because we've got the cost of living crisis. There's a lot that's going on for people, so I completely get it. But it's still possible. Even if you became mortgage free by 5 years or 4 years or, you know, however many years, the key is to begin to apply what we're sharing today in a small way, because we know that even small amounts of money make a difference over time. Yeah. Now, strategy 5 is start a side hustle. Now, Mary and I put a lot of our time and energy into starting side hustles that created more income. Things like creating a tuition business, a party business. We talked about a nursery business. We did all these things whilst still keeping up with our jobs. Yeah. Could be selling things online and what have you. Yeah. But doing that meant cutting off certain things. I was wasting a lot of time on TV. I'm not saying don't watch any TV at all. I'm saying just achieve a bit of a balance. Yeah. It may mean for a season that you give up certain things. You can refocus that time into things that might create you an income and help you to achieve your goals a lot quicker, create some extra income after tax, and that money can then be reinvested into the stock market, or and potentially some of it being used to overpay your mortgage as well.
Yes, strategy 6 is to use bonus and redundancy. So, we think we've got here 50% of our bonuses was used to pay off our mortgage early, and some of it was used for enjoyment. So, you know, I know some people, when they get a bonus, they're already like planned before getting a bonus what they're going to use it for. Usually tends to be holiday or something like that. But another thing we did was that if you're made redundant, right, and you can get a job sooner, then you can use that redundancy money to put towards mortgage, you know, overpayments on your mortgage. And also,
provided you've got an emergency fund.
Yeah. So we definitely say that always focus on building your emergency funds of at least 3 to 6 months before you then, you know, start to do mortgage overpayments, because it's always important to have that buffer in case of any eventualities like the boiler breaking down or something like that. But the key thing to remember that this is short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain.
Thank you.
And it won't last forever.
Thank you.
These sacrifices won't, because when you see it that way, then you don't feel like you're suffering.
Do you know what?
You know?
I want to just tell you guys something, right? You see those 7 years that Mary and I paid the mortgage, our mortgage. Do you know what that's done for our marriage, for our quality of life, for our family life? The fact that we sacrificed a lot in those 7 years to then create an incredible future for our children. Yeah. The fact that there's stability in the home, the fact that I'm more available as a husband, more available as a dad, the fact that I have more of my own free time as an individual. I'm not hyper stressed all the time. I'm not like everywhere's turning gray hair, you know, every minute. And I'm feeling like I'm looking like I'm 55 when I'm 35. Like, do you know how amazing that is? Do you know how amazing that is for, God willing, future life outcomes, future life expectancy? These are things that people don't tell you, you know, but these things matter because there's a mental stress that we carry when we are so indebted, like heavily indebted in every way. Not only are people heavily indebted, they've got like, God, do you know how many direct debits people have? Everywhere you look, there's buy now and pay later. Everyone's telling you to spread everything and pay monthly. And so people are jacked up to their faces in payments every single month. This is a culture of consumerism, a culture of being in debt and accepting debt as the normality. Now, debt can be used as a tool for building wealth, but that requires certain habits, certain behaviors, certain maturity with money. And we teach you how to do that in week 9 of this book, how to use debt as a tool for building wealth. People who are wealthy use debt as a cheap way to acquire assets. But if you're someone who can't even deal with small amounts of money, the Bible tells us, how are you going to deal with a lot? How are you going to deal with so much more? So it gets to that point. You have to go through a journey of becoming somebody who's able to still with their finances. And over time, you can then make even better financial decisions about your money. Okay. Now, the final strategy I wanted to share with you guys is make 2 payments per month. What do we mean by this? So every month, most banks say to you, pay monthly. So you have 1 payment a month or 12 payments a year. But if you actually make 2 payments a month, i.e., imagine you paid on the first day of the month and then halfway through the month, you actually made a second payment, maybe for a side hustle or maybe doing an extra job or whatever. It actually works out that in a year, you make 26 half payments effectively, or the equivalent of 13 payments in a 12-month period, or 13 months worth of payments in a 12-month period. Why does that matter? The reason it matters is it slows down the impact of compounding interest. By slowing down the impact of compounding interest, your debt, your mortgage is accruing interest a lot slower. By accruing interest a lot slower, you are paying off the debt a lot quicker. By paying the debt off a lot quicker, you are becoming mortgage-free a lot quicker. Yeah. So making multiple payments sooner rather than later has an impact because it reduces the drag of compounding interest, which is a powerful force that can work against us or it can work for us. For example, the same compound interest helps us as investors in the stock market. When you invest your money in the stock market, and that's a whole different session, and we'll cover that in week 7 in this book in astonishing detail. When you invest your money in the stock market and your money is growing and exceeding inflation, that compounding happens because your dividends get reinvested. However, the same force works against you when you're in a lot of debt. So as people who are called to be stewards of our finances, what we want to do is use compounding as a powerful force to grow wealth in the stock market, but have compounding work against it. We want to be against the power of compounding when it comes to the power of debt. Okay? So, this brings us to this bit where we say to you guys, we mentioned this before, feel free to check out our book. And as we wrap up and come to Q&As, if you are already reading our book, we had a fun milestone yesterday.
Yes, we reached 100 reviews on Amazon.
Yes.
So that was amazing. And yeah, thank God for the feedback has been amazing so far.
Incredible.
It's been incredible. So if you guys have purchased the book, please do leave us a review, a written review, like with a photo of the book in a nice environment, make it nice and creative. And
yeah, we'd really appreciate it.
We'd really appreciate it.
And these are our contact details. We're going to do Q&As now. These are our real email addresses. So if you want to contact us, if you want to follow us on social media or check out our website, feel free to do that. Then that brings us to the Q&As.
Yes.
Any questions?
Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Ken and Mary, that was woo! Hot and a blessing. We have limited times for the question and answer, but we are going to do our best. We have some that were submitted earlier, but we are also opening the floor for live questions. We have to try to do it pretty fast because we want to finish quickly. But here's one that was submitted earlier. Let me see whether I can get it there. How can couples that have struggles to discuss money with each other begin to have this conversation? One person refuses to budget or plan around the family's finances, but believes they are very good. Oh, geez. So what do you do in this scenario?
Okay.
One thing that I would say, again, is absolutely get this book for yourself and for your partner and go through it together. It's so important with things like this because in this book, we talk about money personas, money mindset, what's your relationship with money like? And I guess when you do the work and you're reflective, it helps you to better understand your partner. It helps you to better understand yourself and come from a place of non-judgment. Okay, because our money blueprint is actually formed at the age of 7, based from our environment, our parents, things that we absorbed subconsciously without us knowing. So I would definitely say to find a way to get your partner on board to reading this book and going through it together as an exercise and really writing down your reflections and discussing them. It will help you to get to know your partner on a better level.
I want to just chip into that to say that one thing we practice is a money day. The money day is a day that you and your partner agree that, you know what, on this day and at this time, we will talk about our finances. It's in the diary. Yeah. This is very, very important, because if you don't have an appointment to talk about money and talk about the things that are happening in your household, you would never be on the same page when it comes to money, because you always be fighting fires. There will always be stuff happening, bills to pay, kids to drop off, things to do. But if you have a moment, let's say it's every 2 weeks on a Friday morning or Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. or Friday or Saturday morning at 11 a.m. So long as you do it and you do it in a different environment, it will begin to create an environment where, as a couple, you are becoming more united and you can talk about things and discuss some of those struggles.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would say dream together, which is what we did in that during the money day. I want you to dream together, and what are your goals for the next 10, 15 years? The more crazy they are, the better, because you then work your way backwards. How are we going to be able to achieve those goals? It's easier for you to both come together when you have common goals to work towards. It makes it easier for you to say, okay, the only way we can achieve this is by actually creating a budget. And so, yeah, it makes those things easier, those conversations easier.
Wow. Thank you. All right, quick one, another one. Do you mind breaking down your exact journey to paying off your mortgage, including time frame and figures? I know you've already given us a bit of a template of how the years can be cut down, but I guess this person is interested in how did you do yours?
So IJ, so we paid off £380,000 in 7 years. That's what we paid. And it's detailed in our book in astonishing detail in week 6. So I don't want to waste time because there's a lot to cover, but the exact strategies are covered, and we've covered quite a lot of those. But in terms of exact numbers and time frame, that's what it is.
Okay. Somebody has this question. What advice would you give someone with one income? Because obviously this person heard when you talked about you are living on one income while you are using the other one for investments.
Sure. This is a natural question, either for a single person or a couple who only have one income. Completely understand it. So the thing I'd mention about that is, this is why we did the case study of starting small. Yeah. So, and that's why we gave that £50 per month example. Yeah. The key thing is to understand the power of small beginning, having those small beginnings. Now, small can be extended across different areas. Number one, how much per month can you overpay by? I want you to really assess your budget, really be thorough about your budget and say, okay, I can overpay by £50, £30, £100 per month. That matters because I want you to see what impact that has on your mortgage as a starting point. That's the first thing. The second thing is what can you then begin to do to potentially boost your income over time, or create a second income that might be able to support you. Yeah. So this is where you might apply and you might be wondering, we mentioned our Financial Joy Academy earlier, and we share this in week 8 in the book, How to Maximize Your Income. I think that a lot of people only use their skill sets purely for their day jobs. And I think that's actually a lost opportunity? How could you apply your current skill sets to a different environment, such that you're able to earn maybe £250 a month or £500 a month from a different source? I've shown you, Mary and I've shown you what impact that will have on your finances potentially. But I think the biggest advice I'd give is begin small. The key thing is not to do nothing. Make sure you're doing something. No matter what it is, start small. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, go on.
Just quickly, everyone's time frame will be different. So
yes.
Even if you paid off your mortgage, it doesn't have to be 7 years. It could be 14 years, and that is amazing.
Could be 20
even
years.
15. That is still better than the 30-year mortgage or even the 40-year mortgage.
40-year mortgage
that they're trying to bring out to you. You don't have to pay off your mortgage in that term that they've given you. You can actually reduce it. So yeah. And
it's not a comparison. It's a very important point.
Yeah.
Do it in your timeline. Oh, and I should mention for that person, IJ, who asked about timeline, we began at 25 years. And then we started to come down, came down to 22 years. And I remember one day that we made a phone call to the bank and wiped 9 years off the mortgage. I'd never forget that day. Two things happened that day. We changed our overpayments to £500 a month, and we remortgaged and reduced our interest rate by about 2%, because that was about timing. Yeah. So because we began initially with a higher interest rate, and then when we got the chance to remortgage, our interest rate fell a little bit, and at the same time we compounded it with £500 per month overpayments. That one phone call to the bank wiped 9 years of our mortgage in one day. Just imagine what that does for your motivation. Yeah.
Wow, absolutely brilliant. Now, there was a stat that you quoted at the beginning of your presentation where you said that even the Gen Zs and the younger generations are entering mortgages of 35 years plus.
Yes.
Do you have any idea as to why they would?
Oh, yes, of course.
It's amazing to me that anybody would do that.
Well, it's actually becoming the norm now. The reason for it is twofold. Number one, the younger generation, Gen Z, millennials, the struggles we have is that due to inflationary government policies, you've got like rock bottom interest rates over the last, say 10 to 12 years. Those interest rates being so low means that there's high demand. With high demand, with economics, means that property prices are rising to stupid prices and completely outstripping the ratio of property price to incomes that people have. So the multiple is a lot higher. And because of that, people are now having to buy the same property for like 100K more, 200K more, 300K more. And of course, if you're buying for, the sort of multiples of price over time, if you're buying at such an expensive price, you're also borrowing so much more. But your income is not rising as much. And because you're borrowing so much more, affordability becomes a problem. Do you see what I'm saying? You need a bigger deposit, and you're taking out so much more debt. And so what happens is there are only so many inputs you can tweak. The inputs are interest rate, 1, income and budget, 2, term of the mortgage. So this is one of the easiest ones. Even the Prime Minister tells you, oh, you can extend your term. Like you might remember, I love the banks. They all say to you, you can extend your term. Yeah? They make it very easy for you to extend the term. But guess who benefits from that? Guess who benefits? The banks do, because you're paying so much more to the bank. So everybody goes, oh yeah, I can borrow however much I want and spread it over 40 years. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'll try and reduce it later. But the problem is most people don't. And that debt is compounding at an astonishing rate. When you look at your statement, it is so off-putting because you think you're paying down your mortgage, but you're paying mostly interest. This is a problem, Pastor Temi.
Wow, that's brilliant to hear, and I hope we are all hearing. Woo! Okay, now this is another interesting question here. Should I pursue being allocated a council flat over trying to save for my own mortgage? These are scenarios that can happen to some people where, okay, I qualify to get on the council flat list and all of that. So should I pursue that pathway to getting my own space at the end of the day, or over saving for my own mortgage?
So This is actually a pretty unique question, because I think without knowing so much about your circumstances, we struggle to answer this question. But one thing I'd say is from the experience of what we know, having seen other people who've been able to buy council property at a material discount, if you're able to get to that position, that's actually a pretty good position to get to, because
if your end goal is to then buy that property.
Yes, if that is your end goal. But I'll tell you one thing though, like I was speaking to my mum, and this is about 3 days ago. My mum said to me, like, she said to me, do you remember years ago? She said to me how, she was really discouraging all her children from trying to get council properties. And the point she was making was, when you get, and this is not like, you can ignore this point, but I want to make it just so you understand. The point she was making was, when your focus is purely on just trying to get a council property, you're not as ambitious. Right? That's what she's saying. She's saying, because what happens is, she gave an example of one of our uncles who managed to get into a council property, and that's where he stayed. He's just stayed in that one council property, and that is it. Whereas we know other people who started after him who had gone down the other path, and basically they'd not only bought a house but expanded to buy other investment property and that sort of thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, there's a mindset element to this question that you've asked. So yes, you can definitely pursue your, the council path, and there's no stigma. That's the word I'm looking for. Definitely, that's a completely valid pathway. Provided, as Mary said, if you can buy the property cheaper, brilliant. If you can, because most of these council properties, they have excellent locations, even in London and places like that. If you can, I'd get in there. It doesn't mean that you can't later on then buy another property via mortgage if you want. Yeah. So you can kind of have your cake and eat it if it's presented to you that way.
Yeah.
Okay. We will only take maybe 5 more minutes. I know we are already over the time allotted. I hope that's okay, Ken, Mary.
Yeah,
go on then. Let's see what we can do.
Let's see what we can do, and then we will close it down. Like I told you guys, I know we can't do everything, but we do what we can do. Okay. Here's an interesting question, I think, and I think there's another question that's similar to it that you could possibly answer together. We're considering buying a new house, but we currently have a low interest rate, which we may lose if we go to another product. Do you have any tips to making this work in the current market? Now, the addendum to that, or a question that was similar to that, is that somebody's on a fixed mortgage for 5 years, and it's coming to a close in maybe a year or two. Now, since when the person fixed it, the interest rate was considerably low. Now, interest rates have gone up now, maybe even as high as 5%. Maybe the person got in at 1 point something percent. So how does that person prepare for the inevitable higher interest that he's going to have to pay when the fixed term is over, which is very similar to this person wanting to get a new house, but afraid that they're going to lose the interest rate, the low interest rate. So what do they do?
So those rock bottom interest rates are over. Like, they're like gone for a very long time. Right? That's the first thing to mention. Now, the one piece of advice or one piece of guidance that Mary and I have been given since before these rates. I remember ITV interviewing me back in 2021, I think it was 2021. And they were like, and the rate was like, and the base rate was like, they were like, oh yeah, oh my God, the base rate just got to 0.75%, like something like that, right? And I was telling people right from there, I say, look, the only way these rates are going to go is up, and they're going to rise very quickly, right? What we recommend people do is begin overpaying your mortgage now. If you're someone who's got a low rate, you want to try and reduce the capital element of your debt. Why? Because it improves the loan to value you have. When your loan to value is a bit better, you can get better deals when it comes to mortgages. You can get a better rate down the line. But however, I know that's challenging because people have cost of living challenges. So it's a bit of a difficult balance, because it comes back to lifestyle, it comes back to budgets, comes back to earning potential, and making sure you're not suffering any kind of lifestyle creep but really trying to hammer that mortgage a little bit, because, you know, if you can get the balance down a little bit, you know, maybe into like a 75% loan to value, or even lower, you know, 60% loan to value potentially, it then starts to look very significant from a rate perspective down the line. Yeah. But as things stand at the moment, look, these interest rates, look how you know, the Bank of England, they've just been, you know, they've kept it flat, you know, at 5.25% for the base rate. Although inflation is currently at 3.2%, and they're struggling to try to get that inflation lower to nearer the 2% target that the Bank of England typically aims for, it simply means there'll be a stalemate. There's an uncertainty right now. Although people are saying rates will come down, you're not going to see 1% anytime soon. My point is, if inflation remains difficult to shift, it means interest rates will, although they might come down in the near future, and they will inevitably, they wouldn't really come down to what we've seen over those last 10 to 12 years anytime soon. So we need to start to get accustomed to almost higher average rates of interest. The average rate of interest in the UK right now, average, is 4.97% average. Yeah. So those kind of numbers need to start to become the reality. But this is why borrowing a lot of money becomes tricky, because sadly, the policies of governments over time encouraged us to borrow a lot. You know, those low interest rates raised property prices. Higher property prices means a lot of us borrowed more money, and then they've switched their policies and said, sorry, we're raising rates, and then we're being hammered. And so it's a painful reality for a lot of us, because we're just caught up in it, because we don't have control. But I tell you, if you begin to apply what we share on this particular session, and start small and see this mortgage freedom as a true reality for you, honestly, we hope that seeing us and hearing from us means that it can become your reality over time. It will take some work, but you will gradually get there over time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much, Mary. There are many other questions, but we're not going to take them. Our time is done. Virtually every one of those questions are answered in the book. So once again, go get yourself a copy of the book, Financial Joy. Also, I want to encourage you, I'm going to quickly put this back on stage, to follow Humble Penny on YouTube. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Instagram at Humble Penny, and all these other places, the humblepenny.com, the Financial Joy Academy. Take a screenshot of these things and get in. Particularly those of you that felt that I had a question, it wasn't answered. Well, go here. You get it answered right here. Okay. Thank you once again, Ken and Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure having you on here. This is the first time, but by God's grace, it will not be the last time.
Amen to that. Amen. Yeah. Earlier, we'll be more than happy to do this again in person.
Yes. I've gotten a lot of feedback. People want the in-person stuff. So we are going to look seriously at how to pull that off. We wish you the best. Great success with your book, and great success in the work that you are doing, empowering so many people. Thank you for being on here once again. To the audience, I want to encourage you once again to stay tuned. The final installment in this series on mastering your money is next week, Wednesday. I have a very special guest that's going to be with us next week, Wednesday, Dr. Paul Fo. He's a sales coach, a sales expert. Now, somebody's going to wonder, what does that have to do with mastering your money? It has everything to do with it. You don't want to miss that one. It's going to be great. So I encourage you all to tune back in next week, Wednesday, 7:30 to 8:30. It's going to be a great one. Okay. Thank you all for being here, both audience and guests. And we're going to call it a night by sharing a short word of prayer. Mighty Father, thank you for tonight's session. Thank you for the truth and the financial intelligence that has been shared. We pray for the grace and the resolve to apply the truth and the knowledge that we have heard, that it won't just be the gathering of knowledge, it will be the application of knowledge. I pray for each and every person that is in one financial challenge or the other, that by wisdom and by your grace and your mercy, you will bring us out and bring us to the thriving side. Bring us, oh God, into financial joy indeed. Thank you, Lord. We trust you to help us to get there. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
And we share the grace and fellowship, the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen. And surely God's goodness and God's mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen and amen.